Hello and welcome to a new edition of Talk to Al Jazeera. I'm Iyad Allawi. Joining me today is former Iraqi Prime Minister Iyad Allawi. Mr. Allawi is the first man to head an Iraqi government after the fall of Saddam Hussein. During his 10 months in power, he was faced with serious security challenges, as the uprising in Najaf and the US-led assault on Fallujah at the end of 2004. He remains a key player in Iraqi politics, and many see him as a future Iraqi leader. Mr. Allawi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's begin with the urgent security situation. It's not getting any better, is it?
No, and it wouldn't. It wouldn't get better unless there will be a political gesture to bring about a proper and realistic reconciliation in Iraq.
Okay, you said the surge was not going to work. You actually called it a waste of time. Is there anything positive in it at all?
No, the surge would only help to have the conditions, the right conditions prevail, to allow the Iraqis and especially the government to move in a structured way towards implementing the reconciliation. The surge is not intended to solve the problems, security issues in Iraq. Security need to be sorted out by the Iraqis themselves. So this is only giving the right conditions for the government to act and to implement security, and the implementation of security requires a very constructive way of approaching reconciliation.
So what we're seeing right now is more troops pouring into Baghdad and into Iraq. And we're seeing also the other side becoming stronger and bolder, yes. The resistance growing,
yes.
Their attacks becoming bolder, and we're seeing no political effort at this point.
Exactly.
So what scenario do you see ahead of you unfolding?
Well, if the situation continues, things will keep slipping away in Iraq. And unfortunately, I have warned against this, that this may cause even much more violence in the country, which is happening already, and this violence is not going to confine to the Iraqi borders. It's going to spill over to the region. And we are now in this kind of a stage. That's why it's becoming more and more important to tackle the real issues in Iraq rather than just bring about an increase in the numbers of troops. And the real issues really is how to design, to construct a proper way and route towards reconciliation in Iraq, and to get rid and abolish the laws which have been dividing the country. Most importantly, sectarianism and the way how this is being run in Iraq is causing a lot of ill feelings and a lot of divisions within the society. And this would only flare up the situation, the security situation. It wouldn't sort out the problems.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about politics a bit later, but just keeping with the security situation, you're talking about divisions. We have this wall now that's being built. Is there any viable solution really on the ground?
No, well, it's not. The wall is really a sign of confusion. And it seems people who are engaged in the security in Iraq do not know what the requirements for the security are, and it's they are supposing that the only thing is really to have troops and more troops, and this is not. I can't see this as being the answer in Iraq for the security situation. The wall is going to contribute to a lot of problems, and is not going to restrict itself to Adamiyah only. It's going to be also in other places in Baghdad. And you can imagine a city, a civilized city, an ancient city, is divided using these walls and concrete walls, and this is not going to prevent, this is going to fuel the problem.
And more. Once you build those walls, it will be very difficult to bring them down.
Of course, okay. Absolutely.
Now, the American withdrawal. Some people think that actually if the Americans pull out now, the situation will become much better, and some others think that if the Americans withdraw now, there will be a bloodbath. What's your opinion?
We have no capable security forces as yet. In fact, our security and police are heavily riddled and penetrated by militias. and they are responsible, a substantial part of this is responsible for the killings that have been occurring in Iraq. That's why it is important before any withdrawal is to embark on a course of constructing real, genuine, pan-Iraqi forces loyal to the country, loyal to Iraq, not built on sectarian divide, and this is the only route forward. Withdrawal is possible now, but a premature withdrawal without having the capable Iraqi institutions is going to lead to more chaos and more problems in Iraq. We and myself, I think there is here now a big role for the Security Council to get more and more involved in Iraq and with Iraqis to construct the right and necessary security forces and army to protect the people of Iraq. I think the United States should also demand from the Security Council and the United Nations to be more engaged and more involved in Iraq.
Mm-hmm. Now let's move on a bit to the political arena. You have said many times there is no military solution to Iraq. It has to be a political solution.
Right.
Now you also speak about a national salvation government. What exactly would you offer the Iraqi people, and what will be your solutions?
The solution for Iraq really is the main solution, the main issue really is reconciliation. To declare amnesty except for those terrorists, and to embark on dismantling the laws which have been divisive, including de-Baathification, including the laws which dismantle the Iraqi military, Iraqi security forces, the Iraqi institutions, and to move away from sectarianism and to get rid of militias, both militias running in the streets or militias that have penetrated the security establishment in Iraq. And this is the only way forward. If we keep using the yardsticks we are using now to punish hundreds of thousands of people because they joined the Ba'ath Party at one stage, or because they were part of the Iraqi military, or part of the Iraqi police, or part of the Iraqi media and culture institutions, then really we are only shooting ourselves in the legs, and this is what we want to avoid. We want to build a reconciliation, an Iraq for all Iraqis, with strong institutions loyal to the country and loyal to Iraqis, to all Iraqis, and get away from sectarianism. This is the only solution that I can see to Iraq.
So when you say get away from sectarianism, you would offer a government based on political ideals rather than sectarianism?
Exactly.
Okay, who would join you in such a government?
Well, we are trying, frankly, to build a front of Iraqi forces, both inside the parliament and outside the parliament, forces, political forces who believe in Iraqism, non-sectarian forces, who believe in that Iraq should be a modern state, Iraq for all Iraqis, Iraq which would be a significant positive player in the region and in the world. This is what we are attempting to do, and this is what frankly takes us to many countries in the region. And so far we have found only support to these ideas, and concrete support in fact. And we want to proceed along these lines in Iraq, and inshallah we will be successful.
Okay, but Mr. Allawi, what it means is that you're saying that the current system is not working.
It's not.
Okay.
And it wouldn't work.
Does that mean that some parts of the constitutions have to be rewritten?
Absolutely.
Which parts?
Well, a lot of the constitutions have parts of the constitution have to be re-evaluated, rediscussed, whether it's on the federal issues in the south and the center, whether it's on the way of adopting the role of the rights of the women and so on. These are all issues that need to be revisited in the constitution.
Now, for any Iraqi government to be successful, at some point they will have to sit and talk to all the armed groups or the militias around.
Yes.
Who would you be willing to speak to, and who would you not be willing to speak to?
I am willing to speak to anyone except those terrorists that have been advocating terror, who have been killing innocent lives, with the exception of these. One should talk, and I did this very thing in my time when I was in office. I spoke to the armed groups in Fallujah and Ramadi and Najaf and Al-Sadr city and Mosul, and many of them now are in the political process in Iraq. Some of them are in high positions in the government, and some have joined the parliament. So this is, and we should, as any government in Iraq should be brave not only in facing and confronting armed groups, but also brave enough to open dialogue with these armed groups, to find the reasons why those people are fighting, and to bring about sanity and responsibility in the discussions with them, and bring them and back to be part of the country. Isolating people, oppressing people, as is happening now, disfranchising people is not going to pay dividend at the end of the day. It will only cause more and more problems, as we are seeing now.
Now, the American seems to think that one of the biggest problems in Iraq today is the Mahdi army. What would you be doing with it?
It's a big problem. It's not the biggest problem. What we need in Iraq is frankly, is the rule of law, that the law should apply to every and each single person. And the government should open up constructive dialogue with all forces, whether these forces are like Jaish al-Mahdi or the Badr group, who are now in the various institutions of the government, or the other arms that they call themselves the resistance. The government should open up and talk to them. And the government should not hide out and hide away from facing these. These are realities in Iraq. You have to come to terms with them, you have to open up, you have to discuss, and then decide what kind of policy to adopt.
Including the Ba'ath Party?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, now, do you think it's actually these resistant groups have been asking for unconditional U.S. withdrawal? So before that happens, do you think they will be willing to speak to any government, to you, or to the Americans, or to anyone in power?
Well, let me tell you, the most of the people whom I have spoken to, and I don't claim that we have spoken to all resistance groups, have two things in common. They don't want to be disenfranchised, and they are against sectarianism and against regional intervention in Iraqi affair. They are not against the United States. They haven't declared that they are against the United States. But they say that we don't want to be disenfranchised. We don't want to be oppressed. We want to be part of the system. But we likewise do not accept sectarianism to prevail in Iraq. And we don't need to have regional powers intervening in the affairs of Iraq, internal affairs of Iraq. These are legitimate things. These are acceptable things. And upon these requests, one should open up a dialogue with
But many groups have asked for an end of U.S. occupation. Many have asked for an immediate end of U.S. occupation.
Because they think that the U.S. is keeping silent on the intervention and on sectarianism in Iraq. And this is where the U.S. Needs to make more efforts in talking to these groups.
Moving on to Kirkuk, there's a referendum set for the end of the year, and Kirkuk probably represents really one of how difficult the Iraqi situation is. Do you think that referendum should go ahead? Should it be postponed? Is it at all possible to postpone it?
I think logic should prevail on Kirkuk. I think Kirkuk is not running away, nor the issue of Kirkuk should run away. I think referendum should be postponed. I think there should be a high-level political commission to talk about Kirkuk and to bring about, as soon as the situation is quiet and right, to bring about normalization and accordingly deciding for the Kirkukian people to decide what they want and what they would like to see. Under the prevailing conditions now and circumstances, it will be quite explosive, frankly speaking. And we, myself and our group, have been calling for a postponement of this issue, because this issue is going to remain with us. It's not the burning issue now for Iraqis. The burning issue for Iraq is security. and the services. And unless the security and services prevail, then it will be quite dangerous to discuss other divisive problems such as Kirkuk. That's why it's important, and that's why I think our brothers, the Kurds, and the others, the Turkomans and the Arabs, should understand that nothing is going to be running away, but in fact it's a postponement until the conditions are right, security conditions. Then people can, at their ease, talk about the future of their country.
Another decisive issue is the oil law. Is the current draft law at all viable? Is this the right moment to discuss it?
No.
Should it be postponed? What should happen with
No,
the
it
oil
should
law?
not be postponed. The implementation of the law should be postponed, definitely. We should give more time to discussions and dialogue. Certainly, it should come especially after the reviewing of the Constitution. It should not precede the Constitution. We have some reservations. I don't think this should need to be pushed down the throat of Iraqis now. The hydrocarbon law, I think the Iraqis should have ample of time to discuss, because this, what we don't want to happen is for Iraqis to discuss things at the very wrong circumstances that we are in now, that may reflect on the future of the country and maybe the region ultimately. That's why I think we need to take it easy and talk about these matters and to give security the paramount importance in our efforts and the most importance in our efforts. Then we can come to other issues such as the hydrocarbon law.
Okay. Now moving on to regional issues. Many claim, including the Baker-Hamilton report, that talking to Iraq's neighbors is key into bringing stability to Iraq. That's why the foreign ministers are meeting in a couple of days here in Sharm el-Sheikh. Do you expect it will make a real impact on the ground?
No, we tried Sharm el-Sheikh. When I was in office, I suggested the first Sharm el-Sheikh meeting, and it was the initiative of Iraq and Egypt, thankfully, hosted the meeting then. And we tried to create some mechanisms out of the first Sharm el-Sheikh on reconciliation, on regional issues. And we did manage to, we succeeded in creating a tripartite committee between Iraq, the United States, and Syria to talk about issues relevant to the security of Iraq. I am for dialogue. Dialogue should prevail, and but it shouldn't be built on bilateral dialogue. It should be within the framework of the region.
What would be counterproductive?
The bilateral discussions without involving the others, without having the region.
Don't you have a key issue there? You have Washington, who is reluctant to talk to Syria and Iran, who is asking Iran to play a positive role in Iraq, but at the same time is calling for the fall of the regime in Tehran. Isn't that a big problem?
It is a very big problem, and that's why we are calling for a more role for the United Nations in the whole affair of the region, and likewise for the Arab League and the Islamic Conference. And we want for this conference, of course, in Sharm el-Sheikh to succeed. And we want a positive and a healthy dialogue between the United States and all regional players. But we want guarantors, and the guarantor is going to be the United Nations, and it should be the United Nations, because this is where the international community is.
What about the U.S. position towards the United Nations?
Well, the U.S. is an essential part of the United Nations.
But the U.S. doesn't seem to want the United Nations to play any key role in all this.
Wallahi, I'm not sure. I have listened to the American ambassador, the new American ambassador to the UN last week in a press conference. And he was calling rightly for a greater role for the United Nations to play. And he comes from experience because he was ambassador to Iraq and also to Afghanistan. So he does understand what the problems are, and I guess that's why he's calling for a more significant, important role, a larger role for the United Nations, which I believe very strongly. And we have spoken, me and him, about this when he was ambassador of the United States to Iraq. We don't want to put too much burden on the United States. We want the United States to continue as a positive player in the international theater stage, and we want the United States to be activating and helping the United Nations to activate itself, to be more involved and constructively involved in tackling issues especially in the Middle East, because these are most of the problems do exist here in the greater Middle East, from Afghanistan, Pakistan to Morocco. And this is where we have to focus our efforts, and this is where the United States have to focus its efforts. And even in talking to Iran and Syria, we have to be transparent, we have to be clear, we have to put them in front of their responsibilities with the region, with the international community, and with the Islamic Conference and the Arab League, because all of these are international and regional forums that would help in bringing stability in the region.
I want to touch a bit on Mr. Allawi, the politician. Now, you considered a man who came with the occupation. I've read that you've been quoted as a man who came on the back of American tanks, but you're certainly the man the Americans chose to pass on sovereignty of Iraq. Do you think Iraq is today a sovereign state?
No, it's not. I didn't come on American tanks. I came in the Western Desert with the tribal people. I was a politician. I belong to a family which have been well entrenched in the history of Iraq. I played significant roles in coups in the past in Iraq, which brought incidentally the Ba'ath Party to power. I was then a medical student, and I am part and parcel of the Iraqi setup. I am not part and parcel of the American setup.
For an Iraqi who lived 35 years under Saddam Hussein, who then was told to hope and dream of a new Iraq where everything will be much nicer, who is now dying every day by the tens, by the hundreds, how much more patience can you ask from them? How much more can they go along?
Well, we should not lose hope. I mean, hope should be there always for us. We cannot lose hope, because if we lose hope, we will lose Iraq. If we lose Iraq, we will lose the whole region. And the world would be a much terrible place for everyone, ultimately. That's why we have to keep hope. We have to keep working. Iraqis have to remain hopeful for their own country, for their own future. And I am certain that now more and more people are seeing daylight, are seeing that sectarianism is not right. People who have been advocating sectarianism have been changing course now inside Iraq. The international community are seeing that the Iraq cannot move forward without clear-cut reconciliation, without clear-cut avoiding militias and sectarianism. And these are all, unfortunately, have been brought with a lot of blood to Iraq. A lot of bloodshed, unfortunately. But I am certain that this is not going to go in vain. We are going to achieve victory and stability for the country.
Mr. Allawi, many thanks for joining us on
Thank
Talk
you.
to Al Jazeera.
Thank you.